His car was found at about 1 o'clock p.m., and once Darrell saw police from his hiding spot, he started shooting. The police weren't confident precisely which building Darrell was in, so when he started shooting, they could finally determine where he was and take action. Police, investigators, and negotiators did their very best to end the unimaginable event unfolding while simultaneously getting as many people to safety as possible.
He was tracked to a location, 248 North Main Street, which is an abandoned commercial facility. Sometime after we found his vehicle behind it, we were doing a grid search. He fired shots out from the front of the location. A member of law enforcement returned fire. He fired an additional shot out, and from that time, which was early afternoon yesterday, we've had no contact with the gunman. We had a good perimeter. We believed him to be inside the location, and heavily armed teams maintained a vigil all through yesterday afternoon and all through the overnight. And somewhere on the first floor of the location, the gunman began to shoot at the tactical team, struck one of the canines, and fire was returned and exchanged with the gunman from one of the tactical teams. And at that time, the male was shot and killed inside the location. Also, the canine that was struck is also deceased at this time. You know, we still have no information on what his motive is or why he finally chose to come to this location. We don't. The only thing that we have on him from our investigation is he's apparently a loner. He didn't have a lot of contact with his family, and the few people that we did find that were relatives, we interviewed some neighbors, nobody could offer any explanation.
68-year-old Harry M. Montgomery affectionately went by Marty to those that were close to him. Born on May 8, 1944, in Richfield Springs, to parents Lyle and Florence Montgomery, Harry attended Richfield Springs schools for his entire life. He married Linda Pierce in Ilion, New York, on July 1, 1967. A very hard worker, Harry was employed as a forklift operator at Union Fork and Hoe Company, where he worked for over 10 years. He then went on to work at DJ for Dula Topsoil in Frankfort, New York, and even worked at the Ilion Marina at one point. One of the things Harry was most proud of was his volunteer service for the Mohawk Fire Corps. Harry leaves behind 3 children, daughters Linda and Kelly, and son Harry Jr. Michael D. Rancière was born on February 8, 1956. He was only 57 years old when he was murdered, without rhyme or reason. Born in Watertown, New York, to parents Jean and Betty Rancière, Michael attended school in Cape Vincent, New York. A proud vet, he served his country in the United States Navy from 1976 to 1978. Michael married the love of his life, Jolene Hanley, on May 3, 1976, in Valadi, New York. After his service and marriage, he worked as a corrections officer with the New York Department of Corrections, retiring in 2006. A well-rounded individual, Michael was once a member of the Oriskany Falls Volunteer Fire Department and was a member of the Christian Bible Church in Mohawk. He was described as being an incredible handyman who could basically fix anything from household appliances to automobiles. He had a passion for coaching baseball and doing all types of landscaping. Michael is survived by his 4 children, 3 daughters, Melissa, Maxine, Lorraine, and son Mike. He also leaves behind 5 grandchildren he adored, and a sister, Linda, and 2 brothers, Charles and James. Michael had another brother named Alan, who was deceased before Michael's murder. 51-year-old Michael Renshaw was born in Herkimer, New York, to parents Sidney and Ruth. He was raised on McKinnon Road in Frankfort, but attended the Herkimer High School, where he graduated in 1979. Michael's mother called him Mikey, while others simply called him Mike. He went on to work as a corrections officer at the Midstate Correctional Facility in Marcy, New York. Mike was always known to have a positive outlook on life, striving to see the best in every person. An avid golfer, Mike played as much as possible, and particularly loved playing with his father. At the time of his murder, Mike was engaged to Vivian Vietzi, who was also from Frankfort. He leaves behind a son named Matthew, 2 grandchildren called Ariana and Athena, a brother named Christopher, and a sister named Lisa. Mike's wish was to be cremated, and his family abided by his wishes. Thomas Edward Stefko was 62 years old when he was killed. Born on June 24, 1950 in Little Falls, New York to parents Edward and Ludmilla. Thomas attended Little Falls schools his entire life. He graduated from Little Falls High School. Then, Thomas went on to attend college at SUNY College of Agriculture and Technology Thomas of Cobleskill, where he received an associate's degree in business administration. From there, Thomas attended SUNY Brockport, where he studied economics. He worked at the Herkimer County Department of Social Services as a social welfare examiner, retiring on October 30th, 2001. Not one to sit around and get bored, he took a part-time job at Gaffey's, which is why he was there on that fateful day. Thomas was a lifelong car enthusiast with a variety of talents. For example, he was musically gifted, playing both the guitar and drums. In the 1970s, he was a drummer for a band called Sea Breeze. Despite playing many instruments, Thomas was also an extremely talented songwriter. He leaves behind 2 sons named Brian and Christopher, and a daughter named Michelle. Ape, the canine dog, was only 2 years old when he was shot and killed. A German Shepherd male dog, Ape was an FBI tactical canine. He served on the FBI for only 3 weeks before he was killed. Ape had completed his tactical training on February 25, 2013, making this his first and last mission.
Very good people. And, just getting the haircut or sitting to wait to get a haircut, they didn't deserve that, that's for sure. For your loved ones and your family, you never know. You never know. So tell them you love them and you care about them, because you could not come back the next day the way the world is now.
Herkimer County is located approximately 170 miles northwest of New York City. In 2018, the population was estimated to be around 61,000 people. The county was named after General Nicholas Herkimer, who was killed from battle wounds sustained during the Revolutionary War in 1777, after taking part in Oriskany's battle. The county covers a total area of about 1,450 square miles, and is known primarily for producing unusually clear quartz crystals called Herkimer crystals. The town of Ilion is one of the only 2 production sites for Remington Arms Company, which produces firearms. The Herkimer Community College, appropriately titled, is located within the county borders. There are several small towns, hamlets, and villages located in Herkimer County, and the village of Herkimer is the county seat. Herkimer County can be found at the foothills of the Adirondacks. One of the largest Irish festivals in all of North America, the Great American Irish Festival, is held in Herkimer County each year. Over 50,000 people attend to enjoy 3 stages of nonstop music and participate in the special Irish Mass held each Sunday. Runners can compete in a 5K run, and hundreds of dancers perform at the Irish competition, with dancers from all over the country showing up to compete. There are music and dance demonstrations, sporting events, history seminars, carnival rides, games, and storytellers. Outdoor sports are popular in Herkimer County, where there is plenty of land and water for hiking, camping, canoeing, and snowshoeing, to name a few. There's very little research to be found about Darrell. It is believed that he did not have a job at the time of the shooting. Darrell had no job, no money, and had maxed out each of his credit cards. Searches of his apartment showed meager possessions and almost no furniture. Aside from a drunk driving charge in 1973, Darrell had no criminal record, and neighbors report that he rarely had family or friends that came and visited. The investigators even tried to track down some family, attempting to dig up more information about Darrell. Still, they could not come up with any, or very few, relatives in order to learn more about him. There were only a select few that police managed to turn up. Significantly few people were familiar with Darrell. However, the 1 or 2 that did recall him remembered Darrell as a, quote, odd little man that seldom spoke, even if you tried to talk directly to him. Darryl could best be described as an awkward loner who was seriously antisocial. He kept only to himself, never speaking to people.
I never really had any personal experience with him. Like I said, to the best of my knowledge, he was just kind of a loner, you know. I try to say hi to him, and he would just, keep walking by. And I've talked to the fellow neighbors, and they've tried to talk to him a few times. Hi, how you doing? Good morning. And he would just keep walking.
He rented his apartment from the same landlady for 10 years, and there were never any issues because he never interacted or talked to anyone.
This guy, he always was quiet, never really too friendly, but when you seen him, his eyes were just like he saw too much. He was just never friendly.
During his younger years, Darryl worked in Oriskany at the Waterbury Felt Mill, which manufactures felts for papermaking. His job was to create a process of an endless belt of woven felt, which was used for papermaking specifically to dry the paper stock. The mill closed in 2013, and it appears that is when Darryl lost his job, although that is not confirmed, and the precise reason for his leaving the company remains unknown. Darryl worked at the mill for nearly 20 years, and his former boss describes him as a good worker, but quiet. He was knowledgeable and appeared to get along well with his co-workers. The mill in Oriskany is around 20 miles west of Herkimer, the city, and is located in the Mohawk River Valley.
He was a very quiet individual, kind of nervous. He was a little bit of a loner. The last time I saw him, it was the first time I'd seen him in several years, I yelled to him. He looked at me, said my name, said he was retired, and kept right on walking.
The apartment Darryl lived in was a brick building in Mohawk, which is across the Mohawk River from Herkimer. A witness that the police interviewed was Nikki Day. She didn't actually witness the crime. However, she was a bartender at the side street bar, and reported that Darryl would sometimes come into the bar and drink a light beer. He sat alone, humming along to the music, and spoke in a sing-song manner, making Nikki very uncomfortable. Neighbors reported that Darryl left every morning in his red Jeep and returned a very short time later, although no one was certain exactly where he would go. A neighbor recounted a time that Darryl became belligerent and enraged, thinking the neighbor's son shot an air pellet gun at his Jeep. Frequently, neighbors would politely ask Darryl how he was doing as he walked past, but Darryl would go past, not even acknowledging the person. The local Kangi's Car and Grill in Herkimer was his frequent haunt, where he would come and have a bottle, sometimes two, of Coors Light. As usual, he never spoke to anyone other than to order his drink. When police searched the apartment at 32 South Washington Street in Mohawk, they located a charged suitcase underneath Darryl's bed. The suitcase contained various items such as notes, letters, and cards. Also included were love letters and holiday cards. Several photos of a young girl were found too. After reading the letters in the suitcase, it appears that Darryl believed the young woman in the photo was his daughter. You see, Darryl had previously had a very long affair with a married woman. During the police investigation, attempts were made to track down the woman that wrote the letters, and they did. However, she indicated their affair had ended several years prior, and she remained married to her husband. It was also confirmed that the young girl was not his daughter. The written letters spanned the years between 1989 and 2008, meaning this really was a long-standing secret affair. The letters show that the woman considered leaving her husband to be with Darryl, but that never transpired. From the tone of Darryl's letters, it seemed he was none too pleased that his lover wouldn't leave her husband for him. Still, this didn't appear to factor into Darryl's choice to commit murder. Further police searching produced 2 propane tanks that were found on the stove. The propane was intended to engulf the apartment with fire fully. The propane tank sat right next to a package of Oreos, which also have no place on a stove. Darryl's refrigerator contained cartons of orange juice and many Three Musketeers bars. Whether the lack of food was because of his poor diet, or because he knew he didn't have to grocery shop, not with what his big plans entailed. Perhaps he was just too broke. In 1963, Darryl completed 8th grade at Theodore Roosevelt School in Utica, New York. And in 2000, he completed a supervisory training course at SUNY Institute of Technology at Utica, Rome. Darryl was never the type to be a leader or boss, never seemed interested